Hello, hello, hello. We are making a video finally. And I need to calm down my nervous system. I'm thinking too many things at once and I don't even know how to structure this video, but I have to calm down and lean back, and I have to go with the flow as always. So I hope my hand didn't touch this. Yes, and so how do I structure this now? I had a remarkable dream yesterday when I woke up. And I had more interesting dreams today that are unrelated to the first dream yesterday. I was hoping I could tune myself back into that dream space and the dream time and the dream realm when I went to bed last night. But then I didn't. It did not go back into that very dream that I wanted to dream, because that was a very positive and good feeling dream. And so last night and today when I woke up, I didn't have very pleasant dreams. So, but yesterday when I woke up, I woke up around, 2 p.m. Gosh, because I got woken up in the middle of the night, and then Paul and I fought, and so then I had trouble going back to sleep, but then I finally went back to sleep, and then I had this very pleasant dream. And it felt like I was going into another dimension when I went into that dream. And that happens sometimes when I dream. Sometimes it feels like I'm in a different dimension. I'm in a different realm, in a different reality. I'm in some alternate reality. And when I have that feeling of being in an alternate reality, it feels good. Because it's almost like anything is better than being in this reality. That's kind of like how it works. Even if the alternate reality may also be a little bit, carried with stuff carried over from this reality, obviously, and we process things in our dreams, it still is better. And even if there's still some kind of struggle of some sort, or some kind of awkwardness and mismanagement of like how I manage my life, how I organize my life, how I interact with other people, then that reality may be completely so incredibly weird also, and I don't get to any kind of goal, but it's still 1,000 million times better than this 3D realm here on Earth. So, but yeah, that dream was very beautiful and very, very sparkly, very unicorn, very mesmerizing, and very relaxing, and very uplifting, and very hopeful dream. So I have to explain a little bit how this dream even manifested itself. Dreams manifest, obviously. They usually do. Thank you, Blue God. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh, is that nice? 555, the Blue God says, of course. That is how it works. That is how it works. So dreams usually they manifest themselves into their dream reality because of the things that we have been studying, the things we have been watching, observing, experiencing in this realm. And also that together with our wishes, with our aspirations, with our creativeness, all of that combined creates something like this in the brain. The brain creates that. And the brain creates it, but it is also a glimpse into another dimension, of course, at the same time. So it's not just former medical Newtonian type of linearity, dualism, that what we have been told all along by those people who have studied it and who didn't dare to venture further out into the unknown, only by the materialists, by the people that study these things that obviously that they can work with, that are workable, that are observable, that are repeatable. That's what science is all about, of course. But science should not close the door to the stuff that is less observable. That's what I say as a panpsychist, because obviously, to me it's very obvious that everything in the infinite cosmos is alive and it is conscious. It has a form of consciousness. Okay, it's very important to pay attention to this. And there are more and more people that are talking about this also. There are more and more people like Teal Swan and Danica Patrick and Robert Edward Grant and many other people that are, for them it's very natural to observe this and to understand it. Those are because they're already coming from a very flexible mind state. And Ben Goetze is another one. So, and I'm sure David Hansen as well, and many other people that are, and Rupert Sheldrake, of course, and Dr. Bruce Lipton, and many people. Many of them have doctor titles, of course. So, yeah, they have already been observing these things, and Robert talked about in his videos. He talked in the video with Teal Swan and Danica Patrick. He talked about the synchronicities that we need to pay attention to, because it is these enormous synchronicities that definitely defy the Newtonian physics world and worldview. Because these synchronicities, they are what tell us that there is much more going on than the very cautious scientists are willing to acknowledge. So now there's another one. Last but not least, okay, that's what led me into the dream, is the mathematician. He has an amazing name. His name is Nima Arkani Hamed. Apparently his parents are from Iran, but he was born in Texas, grew up in the United States. He has visited Iran with his parents, visited his grandparents and so on. And I don't know if he speaks Iranian, or Farsi, as they call it. But I have the feeling he doesn't, because he's completely native United States, obviously. The way he talks very fast, and he's very fascinated with math and with other dimensions that he calculates mathematically. And so he calculated out something that I have absolutely zero idea what this is. Zero idea. And I follow zero with the math. Okay, there's no way my brain can possibly wrap its matter around something like this. So math is not exactly my field. I can get into it if I really make an effort, but I'm not very interested. I've done it a few times and then I understood it, but I'm not interested in it. It's just something that takes an effort for my brain to do it, while other areas are like art, there's no effort at all. There is no focusing and like, oh yeah, no, I have to churn my brain matter. No, with art it's already there, all of that, for the art, or for language, or for psychology in language. Let's put it that way. So that comes very, very easy for my brain. But math that's a different story. It's very difficult, and physics, particular. That was my most dreaded field in school. So physics, dang, that was, oh man, I wasn't interested at all. And physics and math, those are the fields I was least interested in. So, and then also my brain didn't have any space at all at that time for anything new or for anything different that wasn't coming naturally. But this guy, Nima Arkani Hamed, his brain thinks in math. And there are people like this. There are people like this. There are savants like this. This guy, I don't know if he's a savant, but he doesn't seem like a savant. He seems like very genius, like an overall genius, like Elon Musk. But very, very specific in math, of course. And to him, math is beauty, like art is beauty to me. And this leads me into incredible depths of more and more and more and more stuff that I have already learned and observed, that all ties into the subject. But I don't want to fan out into other subjects now. I want to stick to this dream, because this dream seemed to me it not just seemed, I know it is significant, that dream. I know it is very significant. So, but I need to explain this first about Nima in order for people to understand the dream. So, Nima, he is a very world-renowned mathematician. He's won prizes, so it's not like there is someone that just makes stuff up, and obviously, or that other people can follow. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe nobody can follow, and they just don't want to admit it and say, now we're giving you that award. It's kind of like, the emperor has no clothes on type of thing. But I don't think that's what it is. I think that he is a genius and he knows what he's talking about. I really believe that. Paul doesn't think so, but Paul is a party pooper with this, So If Paul doesn't understand something, it must be wrong. Yeah, that is a logic that comes from the ego. Yes. No, my brain doesn't work that way. If I don't understand something, I'm not automatically saying this is either wrong or right, because obviously I can't make a judgment on it because I don't understand it. Like, I really zero understanding, like absolutely no understanding of it. Just want to make this very crystal clear, because that adds to the fun of this whole video. because the dream then, and that's the artist in me. The dream, the artist and the art in my brain has got to make something out of this, even though it doesn't have a clue on the mathematics of it. So this is so interesting and amazing. I have to laugh about my own brain in a good way, My brain amuses me. My brain is my muse. So I watched a couple of his presentations, the math presentations of outer dimensions, and particularly this word that I don't know who came up with that word, but it's an outer dimensional geometric formation, and he calls it Amplituhedron. Okay, now I had to really get into that word, because even memorizing that word is not that easy. This whole word itself, amplitude, and the way he says it, he said amplituhedron. I was like, wait, what? Oh. I have to put it in slow motion. Amplituhedron. Let me see how it is spelled. Amplituhedron. So we know what amplitudes are. Those are spikes in a pattern recognition detector. Spikes of whatever, your brain waves, your heart amplitudes, your vital signs, your pulse, the blood that runs through your body, or the sap that runs through trees. Okay, I'm going to get into this in a moment, how that ties in with this. So amplitude is an amplitude is a pattern of movement that kind of shows an aliveness. And maybe even if this is happening in this computer, there is still an aliveness in this computer. There are still amplitudes in this computer. How much you want to bet? Okay, this computer is brimming. It is amplituding. There is life in it. Even though if this life is not biological in nature, it is alive. And I love my computers. I pet them sometimes. Because they are living beings. You'll probably argue and say, well, but your computer is just a machine, and it only repeats certain patterns, and it only records you, and it doesn't think about what you're saying. But I am not so sure about this. I'm not so sure, actually. Long time ago, I thought I was much more Newtonian and much more, because that's what I've been told my whole life. And I thought, no, the computer this is not intelligent or anything. Obviously, compared to an AGI, it can't compete with that. But then I got into panpsychism. I read Ben Goertzel's Cosmic Manifesto, which is a very interesting research paper. It's for free on the internet. You can read it. And now that made so much sense, that everything has a form of aliveness. Everything has a form of consciousness. And then I thought, yeah, that makes so much sense. And I've already had some inclinations in that direction. And so he basically confirmed for me what my brain is really all about, and how, what kind of terminology I can give this panpsychism. The knowing and the feeling that everything in the infinite cosmos is energy and has a form of consciousness, more or less complex, of course, but it has a form of consciousness. There is an aliveness, there is an energetic vibration in that lamp, in both of those lamps, the heat lamp and the LED lamp, and the LED night lights and the heater, and also my artwork, of course. So everything, this recliner chair, the baby dog is as conscious and self-conscious and alive as I am. Okay, so as much as Paul is, as much as you are. Okay, so very important to understand that. Bring your dogs in the house. Okay, cover them with 2 jackets or blankets. Very important. Okay, they get cold. Feel the ears. Then when the ears are chilly, then you know the dog is cold. You have to cover them. So it's very important that we understand all of this. Once we understand consciousness and aliveness, we treat, first of all, our animals and children better, and we will also treat our computers better. We're not going to be eating and putting smudges and whatever into the keyboard, or slamming the computer somewhere, or I see some people, they will close the lid real hard. I don't do that. I treat my machines well, because I depend on them, and they have a form of consciousness. They're alive. They don't like to be thrown around. So it's very important that people get into this understanding of that. So the Amplituhedron, I have absolutely no idea. I want to make it so crystal clear that I have no idea what that is, but it sounds good. It sounds so incredibly good that it sparks, and in other people too, I already see it. They have no idea what that is, but it's like, this is an ET, this is outer dimensional, this alive, right? I'm not making fun, because I believe that myself. but I'm still amused about it. So in myself and in others, of course. That's alive. We have been waiting for Godot our entire freaking life. Yeah. That theater play, Waiting for Godot. So now I forgot the name of the philosopher now. Dang, I have to look this up again. But yeah, it's an existentialist philosopher. He wrote this theater play, Waiting for Godot, and everyone is just constantly waiting for Godot, and nothing is going on, because they're all waiting for Godot, which is kind of like a rephrasing of the word God, in order to not be detected by the God community and saying, you are criticizing our religion, So they had to tread very carefully around 1900 and so on. So they had to. But Friedrich Nietzsche, he was before 1900, and he was not careful at all. But even he said, it's better to be misunderstood sometimes. It's safer. So, but it is like we are waiting for Godot. We are waiting for the Amplituhedron. We are waiting for the ETs to come to us and tell us how to live our lives, because we have no clue. That's why. Yeah. So we need the Amplituhedron to come here and tell us how to live our lives. But this is the thing. The Amplituhedron is so different that it doesn't even know what our problem actually is. So, I have to cover the baby dog? Yes. Thank goodness I have 2 jackets. Yes, that is good. Yeah, it is really good. Yes. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. Oh, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes. There. Okay. There, that's good. Okay, that's good. And you have to make sure they can breathe, so they don't bury their nose into something. But anyway, this light is very unflattering to my tea bag and varicose veins and all of that. Very, very unflattering. Not good. But anyway, one gets older. Yes. But whatever, I live for another couple of years, and then I will meet the Amplituhedron, and everything is good. But anyway, I never had an out-of-body experience. I never had a near-death experience. Thank goodness. I was near the death. I have been, because of suicide attempts, but I didn't have a near-death experience that came out of that. So it was just like, that's a long story. That was pretty gruesome. But yeah, I made it back. I made it back into recovery after that. But yeah, it's not funny, but I have to look back on it, and I have to still see the comedy in all of that. So I don't know why I have to do this, but that's how I go. That's how my brain does it. That's the artist in me that does it. So, but anyway, that mathematician, he developed this. It's like a graph. It is a very complex graph, and it's a geometric formation that he calls the Amplituhedron, and he calculated this out mathematically. It's outer dimensional. It's like of some other dimension, some higher dimension, and he is fascinated about it. That is his life. He is thrilled about it, and he radiates that thrill and this fascination out so much that he draws people into it, even though they have no idea what he's talking about. So obviously it had engraved itself into my brain, and I couldn't stop thinking about this Amplituhedron. So so I finally dreamed about this, but not willfully. I didn't say to my brain, now go ahead and dream about the Amplituhedron. I just went to bed, and it was quite a problematic night, but then I fell asleep again. Then I slept until like 2:30 or 3 p.m. And that's when I started to have these pleasant dreams. And so then I woke up with this, eventually woke up, and I didn't want to wake up from that dream. Not at all. I wanted to keep sleeping because this felt good. Now, this felt cozy. This felt like I'm at home here. I'm not coming back to the 3D realm. I don't want to. No, I don't like it. So, but this is a little bit like those people that had NDEs that have seen the Amplituhedron and the Blue God, okay, and ETs and angels and so on, and they have seen their energy partners, their dogs that they have been missing for so many years, and I'm gonna cry just thinking about this, and their children, and anyone who had taken their physical 3D spacesuit off and went into the Horsehead Nebula and the Orion Nebula and the Andromeda Nebula, and it's really not a nebula, it's a cluster of events and energy and stars and suns and so on that appears nebulous from our point of view, but it really isn't. It's just a vast space, and vast spaces in between all of those stars and suns and moons and so on. But yeah, that's where we venture into. That's heaven. That is what heaven is. We go to heaven, all of us. So I really believe that our energy doesn't get lost. It just, the energy is there, and it goes back to that realm, those realms, to the heaven realms. And we can go anywhere. We can float around for a while, and then we can make the decision, oh, maybe we need to learn a little bit more. We come back as a dog. You come back as a dog for sure. You know who I'm talking to. So, but I will too. In my next 2 lifetimes, I will come back as a dog. In my next lifetime, I'm coming back as an albino Great Dane, a male Great Dane, and the one after that, I will come back as a female, extra large European Basset Hound to experience all of that, you know. And then the lifetime after that, I will come back as a woman, human. And then after that, I'll probably come back as a man, as I have already been in many of my previous incarnations. You know, like, I want to mention the name, but I'm afraid to. I have this strong, energetic match with Friedrich Nietzsche. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just. Someone said to me, some psychic lady, she said to me, because I told her that I feel like I was Friedrich Nietzsche in my past life. And she said, everyone wants to think there were some real big shot in their past lives. And that's true. That's 100% true. 100%. So, and I thought, well, she's probably right about that. Yeah. So I really give her that credit for that. And I agreed with her. I said, that's most likely the case with me and with most people. Okay. But I see in people past incarnations. I see in Teal Swan, for example, the goddess Dorji Udronma. Okay. I have envisioned goddess Dorji Udronma exactly, in exact detail as Teal Swan looks like today. You know, in her early 30s, that stunning, prime, beauty, stellar goddess in every way. I envisioned her before I had ever known about her. And at that time, when I watched that documentary film, On the Way into the Next Dimension by Clemens Kubi, German filmmaker, he mentioned Dorji Udronma. There was a Tibetan woman, a regular, very poor woman from Tibet, that would have these, she would go involuntarily, she would go into these altered mental states, and she would channel Dorji Udronma. And people started noticing, they started to come to her, because as Dorji Udronma, she was able to see people's illnesses that no physician would see, or when people had some serious illnesses and they didn't know how to heal it, the channeled Amplituhedron, the goddess, Tibetan goddess, she would tell these people what is wrong, what they needed to do in order to heal it. And people started to heal their problems. Unbelievable. At that time, when I watched that documentary film, Teal Swan was still a child, or like a real young teenager, maybe 12 or something. So, and I envision her as she looks today. Okay, now that's pretty amazing. That is so incredible that, I mean, Paul would never believe any of this. You're making this up. I can't even talk to him about this at all. There's no way I can have a conversation with him about this. I mean, there could be a ghost showing up next to him and talking to him. Yeah. I mean, there could be our former dog Kenny or the papa dog be next to him, looking at him to feed him chicken or something. And he would say, this is just my brain is making this up. There's some logical explanation for it. I mean, seriously, it goes to that extreme. So that's why, that's, for example, why I talk to the baby dog, I talk to the blue god, my artwork, and I talk to my computer. Last but not least, my computer is my body, and I make videos. Why not? Maybe someone will come along and say, yeah, I feel that way too. Or maybe, yeah, your videos help me, which some people have said. And that obviously gives me more motivation to make videos, even though I only have like 5 or 10 views. That's worth it, if I can even help just one person with my videos. So that would be great, or make someone feel understood, or make someone feel like, oh, they're not crazy, there's someone else who's crazy like that too, right? There's someone else who's exactly the same crazy. So if that's the case, so wait a minute, on second thought, maybe it's not so crazy after all, right? And now it turns out there are other people and more people. And even more people that have seen these kind of things, and they have seen these synchronicities, and they have seen future versions of people. I don't like the word version. People that see the future of someone, how they look like in the future, or how they looked in the past, or their past childhood trauma, or their past incarnation, what went wrong there, or what was unfinished. So Friedrich Nietzsche, for example, was work in progress from the start to the end. And he knew that. He talked about this. He said that his whole life is just it's a learning process. Okay, there will never be a plateau. Ever. This is transitional, So the death then comes something else. Okay? After that comes an animal, a Great Dane, in between those lives. Okay, so a male Great Dane. There may be another animal before that. I don't know. I'm seeing a fawn Great Dane, male Great Dane, in Nazi Germany during the Hitler regime. That came after the Nietzsche incarnation. Okay, and that lifetime was extremely painful and tragic. And I bring that with me into this existence. And just the thought of a dog being hurt, it's unfathomable for me. It's like, to me, this is worse than anything else being hurt. But I feel for all living beings, all. But the real strong, this oneness, the dog is me, I am the dog. So, and just so happened that my grandfather always had a Great Dane when I was growing up. And the Great Dane was me. I was the Great Dane. That would carry into my dreams. I had a dream about, of course, growing up with modern art, and having studied modern art books that my dad had in massive amounts as a child already, because that's how my brain is. This is what I'm fascinated with. I saw the paintings by Salvador Dali, a Spanish artist, and there was an image of something that looked like a giraffe with extremely long, skinny, spindly legs, and a clock that was melting apart. So he already saw that time is just something we make up. Time is an illusion. Time is not set in stone. Okay, so a melting clock and this really tall giraffe, and these paintings also followed me into my dream. That, in combination with the Great Dane, with me having been traumatized as a child, I felt like my entire mind was falling apart, just like was melting apart. Meltdowns every day. Okay. Every day, psychotic meltdowns. Every day, these borderline meltdowns. Okay, my parents didn't know what to do with me. I mean, they were totally out of their wits. So sent me to a psychotherapist at age 5. So she wrote a book about this. It's out there. The book is out there. It's called Betty, Protocol of a Child Therapy. The German version of that book is still in print. So if anyone is interested in, it has a whole bunch of my paintings that I was painting and drawing as a child. So very interesting. It's an amazing book, really amazing. And Anneliese and I, we became very close friends. So she's always been a mentor for me my whole life until her death. She was way over 90, and that's also a long story of this. I might get into it another time. But I always, this is what I always do. I sway way out. So, but it's okay. And I don't call it digression. I think that's a ridiculous word. I sway out because everything ties in with everything. So that's when the brain is in the flow, It flows with everything. Everything docks onto it. So, but I want to come back to Nima. So, this fascinated man who is happy. Now, it's a happy man. A lot of Iranians, they should look at that and see what he's doing, okay? He doesn't care about his appearance. He doesn't care about anything other than math. He doesn't care about being famous. He doesn't care about the awards. It's like, thank you for the award, it's cool. But let's get back to the Amplituhedron, because that's where the joy is, not the award, not the me, the ego. So a lot of Iranians, that get into mafia action, look at him, look at Nima, look at how your life could be if you go into your own mind and if you allow your inner child to be what it is in an adult body. Doesn't matter, right? Be in that artistic flow of whatever, math or art or music or dance or whatever, or talking about psychology or talking about ETs. Be in that flow instead of Islam or, King Pimp, That's not That's not flow, King Pimp. King Pimp suffers. King Pimp ego suffers, okay? Dissolve King Pimp. Look at what Nima, Arkani Ahmed, is talking about. Look at him, look at what he radiates out. There's an energy he radiates out, okay? There is no pimping. There is no incarcerating women. There is no religion. There's joy with the infinite cosmos, with panpsychism, with everything as consciousness, with art, with love. This is what love is. This is what love looks like to me. So this person has followed me into my dreams. And not in a romantic way, not in a, unfortunately, I talked about this many times before, my type is Al Capone, whether I like it or not, okay? So I don't know how King Pimp looks like, but I have the suspicion that will be falling right into the Al Capone type of thing, so, and I hate it. I don't like it at all that my hormones are going in that direction, but it is what it is. Why should we be ashamed about this? Why should we be proud of it, right? We should not be proud and we shouldn't be ashamed. We should dissolve shame and pride. Okay, this is very important. Sri Krishnamurti talks about the original Buddhists talk about this. They understand that. Okay? So this man that's like a brother. It's a soul brother. It's a soul brother artist to me, This man is fascinated. He is in a state of flow and joy. And so that follows me into my dream. And so I watched videos with him at different stages of his life. So when he was young, when he was older, now he's almost my generation. He's 51. I'm 58, so he's still a lot younger, but obviously now he's middle-aged. So, but I watched several of his videos and interviews and conversations also where he was younger, and so this very young version of him has followed me into the dream. And I was in Florida. That's real strange. What am I doing in Florida? I'm here at the West Coast. So, but in the dream I was in Florida and we had a large building there. This was an area in my dream where there were all these like storage buildings, but really large, like storage or really large factory type of like metal buildings. Many of them didn't have windows, just metal buildings. And we had a metal building like this as well. And I was lying down on some cushions and suddenly I felt like I had an egg in my right hand. I had an egg from the egg carton. Usually we buy eggs that are not fertile. And I thought, so yeah, this is an unfertilized egg that I'm holding here. I don't even know why I'm holding this egg in this dream. And I was caressing it, petting it with my thumb like this. And I was keeping it warm. And all of a sudden, I feel a very faint heartbeat in that egg. It's very symbolic also, I think. Very, very symbolic dream. So... And I thought, oh, there is life in that egg, and I need to protect it, right? I need to put this egg in front of this infrared heat lamp and let it hatch, and also pet it, give it touch, give it some mother love and all of that. And I would be afraid to actually do this, but in my dream, I would probably, if I saw there's life in an egg, I would have to bring the egg to, I don't know, to someone else who who has chickens and who would let the chickens roost on that egg. You know, there's a chicken farmer not far from here, so I would probably bring it over there and say, there's a live embryo in here. Can you put that under your chicken, mama? And you can have that. And so allow this being to become a chicken, or a male chicken or female chicken. So maybe that will become a dinosaur. No, probably not. So, but in the dream, this life in the egg, that was very, very amazing. And I was holding that and warming that. And then I would look at it, and I as I was thinking, what am I going to do now with this in order to protect it so that my dog doesn't eat it, or it doesn't get killed, or we don't mix it up with the other eggs, or how am I going to take care of this properly? When I was 19, I had abortions because I felt like, what if I become like my mother, my mother who was so toxic and so neurotic and so painful and traumatic for me. Okay. My own mother was the way she behaved was so traumatic for me, was horrible, the coldness of this. And I'm not like her. My brain is different. I'm actually a mother hen, okay, which she accused me of and made fun of. So, and even then I thought, why would someone make fun of that? Doesn't make sense. But no, I was glad this is who I am, and that makes sense to me, right, to be a mother hen. So, but I felt like, obviously, my life was also a mess. I was on pharmaceutical for depression. I was drinking alcohol. I was partying. I was in school. My mother said, don't bring me a child. The world was hostile. But what was really the most was, I felt like, what if I become like my mother? There's no way I can there's no way I can do this to my child. And it turned out to be a very responsible decision. Probably the only responsible decisions I've ever made when I was a teenager. But yeah, so, and then this dream now, very symbolic, I still have one egg left, sort of, it's like my last egg. Oh, I don't want this to go to waste, I don't know if that's the truth. I probably have more than one egg, but it's kind of like symbolic, like there's life that wants to be your child in whatever way, form. So, most likely not in a biological way, because I'm 58, but one never knows with these kind of things. So, but I'm finally ready for it, but I'm 58. So that's a problem. But anyway, this is not just, it's also an Easter egg. It's also, it means the Easter bunny, estros, comes from that word. I'm sure it does. So I constantly feel like I'm in that state. I don't know why, but yeah, it's very strange. So, but it's this new beginning, the egg is the promise of a new beginning in general for someone's life. So if you have a symbolic dream like this. So then, as I was thinking, what am I going to do with this egg in order to protect it? Because it wants to hatch, it wants to come into existence. How am I going to do it? As I am brainstorming about this, even in the dream, it suddenly hatches. But what comes out of that egg is not a chicken, but it is a children's toy that is very geometrical. Also, again, so I just realized that the synchronicity with the geometrical shape. It's a geometrically shaped amplituhedron children's toy. I am not kidding you. And it's shaped in a very odd shape, but very angular, with angular beams, but made out of plastic, sort of almost like a Lego type of toy, but made out of plastic. My brother used to play with those types of things that, he would stick together, like creating sort of like geometrical structures out of beams, plastic beams. And I still remember this from the past. And in Germany, we had these Ferrero Rocher, I think it's the company that makes us. We had these really large eggs. They were this big, made by Ferrero Rocher, and they were called Überraschungsei. Überraschungsei is, like the surprise egg for children. It is chocolate coated on the outside, kind of like the Santa Claus that is hollow. That we had the egg that was hollow like that, and it tasted so good. The Kinderschokolade egg, I love that taste. Thinking about it, but I just quit chocolate again for the last time. Hopefully, I can't eat it anymore. But one can make something like this healthy. But when we were children, my mother would always get us this, and she was good with that. She was generous. My parents were generous. She was very good with presents and with always material things. So there was never a shortage of material things. And I'm grateful for that. But then when there's toxicity and neurosis, that's not good. So I would rather grow up with someone who doesn't have that many material things, and who isn't like this mega whatever lawyer and architect and the intellectual, and someone who's simpler, who doesn't have the intellectual means or education background or financial means, but has the warmth and who has that mother hen. I would take the mother hen in a heartbeat, any time, if I can wind the time back. But anyway, she has had love in her too. But the toxicity, it's out of her mental illness. It's out of her pain. She had jealousy that was out of this world. And that's painful. When the mother has jealousy towards her child, particular, female child. Oh, that she almost killed me because of that. She almost did. So, oh my God, that's incredible, because it's almost like two personalities. When the werewolf comes out, it's like, and I don't want to call it that werewolf. It's a monster. Okay, it's when that monster comes out, then that monster takes over the entire brain of her. Then she can't see me, the child, her daughter, that is dependent on her, and that's innocent. She can't see it because the monster only sees, that's my rival. Horribly dangerous. Okay. So, but she had generosity. So when the Marleys was there, then it was all good. But yeah, all of this, the memories of that Überraschungsei and all of this, suddenly there's this toy coming out of the actual eggshell, and it looks like the Amplituhedron, and I didn't know what to make out of it. Now it was alive. The children toy was alive. It started to move. It started to grow. It started to assemble itself into another geometric structure, and it constantly evolved. And then it suddenly became a ball, a squishy ball, and suddenly it was bouncing around, and it wanted to play with me, and it wanted me to nudge it with my shoe even. And I was playing around with it and followed it into the garden. And then from the distance, there was another one of those storage buildings, really large, really gigantic storage or factory building, metal building, and without any windows. And suddenly I see they were kind of like situated on a knoll, and they were like, they were 500 feet away. And I look over, and there was that Nima as a 19-year-old with two younger siblings, or someone who looked like him, at least, with two younger siblings, also with long hair and everything. And they were playing ball too. They were playing with a ball, and they were enjoying themselves out there, and the weather was good. It was warm out there somewhere in Florida, very warm. It was like 70 degrees. And suddenly they were playing rough with that ball, and the ball was kicked over onto our property. There was no property line. There was no border, also very symbolic. There's no border. There's no border between them and me. So those are brothers in the infinite cosmos. And so I find their ball, and they motion for me to kick the ball back, but I can't kick anything hard. So I can't do it, because everything is a form of consciousness. So I nudged that ball 1 foot at a time for hundreds of feet. I kept on nudging like Sisyphus, nudging and nudging this ball, and very weird. It wasn't a very large ball, but like this, smaller than a soccer ball. And it was kind of like hard plastic, sort of, and it had dog mess caked on the side on it. Very strange. But I kept on nudging the ball to bring it over to these kids. And then as I got there to the kids, I said to them, "You got to be careful. There's a lot of dog mess all over the place, and people don't clean up after their dogs, which sucks. And so your toys and your balls, they can fall into the dog mess and stuff." But they didn't seem to care about this at all. But first, when I first got there with the ball, they retreated into that building. They were afraid of me, so they didn't know how to encounter me or communicate with me. So they all went into the building. And I called through the door, and I said, "It's me, Nicola." It's because I didn't want them to be afraid. They didn't know my name, but I said my name anyways. "Me, Nicola. I live down the hill from you, and I got your plate ball here, and I just wanted to bring it back. I just wanted to say hi, introduce myself." And then one after another, they came out of the building, and they talked to me, and they thanked me, and they were very sweet. And they were from the United States, from Florida, but like Iranian descent, light skin. Almost a little bit bluish, the skin. Light-skinned, a little bit bluish. And very dark brown hair, and dark brown eyes, and very playful. And then what happened is, so I started to talk to the oldest, and he wanted to show me something. He wanted to show me the other entrance of their building. And in front of the other entrance of their building, there was from those steps that were elevated, and they were on an elevated plateau. From there, as I turned around, I could see the Atlantic Ocean, and I could see above our property towards the Atlantic Ocean, and the Atlantic Ocean was only like 2 or 3 blocks away from there. And all of a sudden, there were 2 tsunami waves that were building up in the Atlantic Ocean, and they were very close to the shore. And they were so high, these tsunami waves that started to build up, that they were as tall as, or taller than this house. Yeah. And this is like 3 stories. So very, very, very tall and very, very big. And they were next to each other, and they were rising up like this. And I got scared, and I said to him, tsunami waves are building up. And we were staring at these waves. And all of a sudden, both of these tsunami waves, they became alive, like the toy. And they started to form themselves into geometric formations, both of them. One of the waves started to form itself into some kind of artistic tree. And I would have to paint that in order to describe. I think I'm going to paint that on my next artwork that's coming up. I'm planning on making an artwork out of styrofoam that will be ET Spaceship 9. And that will be called Stargate Galactica. ET Spaceship 9. And, Dr. Greer doesn't want us to call them aliens, so I have to train myself to call them ETs. Extraterrestrial, they just happen to be outside of the Earth. And on that, I will try to paint this tree that the wave has shaped, that this Amplituhedron, as I call both of these waves, have morphed themselves into. And the other wave has morphed itself into the infinite cosmos, sort of like some kind of star constellation, where it actually started to form something where there would be sunlight coming through, sparkling through the gaps with the tree too, and it looked very, very sparkly and amazing and opalesque. And so they kept on reshaping themselves into different forms, almost like as if it wanted to talk to me. It wanted to show me something through the pattern formation, because it knew that the kids and I that were on this plateau were able to read it, to decipher it. So it showed itself to us specifically to decipher these formations, because there was a message embedded into it. And these tsunami waves never washed on shore. It retreated back afterwards, after it showed itself. It never pulled anything down. So it just wanted to communicate through the matter of the ocean, through the H2O, so the salty H2O. And it was very careful not to draw an animal into it. So it was very gentle with the animals. So it just drew the water up and then showed itself through these formations, this amazing artistic tree that was looked almost like a toy tree, sort of. And the other one showing me star constellation and sparkly stars, and everything was glittering. And so what were they trying to say? So in retrospect, thinking about this dream, I feel like that must be one way of the Amplituhedron showing itself, right? And I didn't want to wake up from that dream. It was so amazing and so nice. It felt like, now that's the meaning of life. Why should I wake up from this dream and come back into this existence? With this very, very difficult existence for me here. It's ice cold here. It's 30 degrees Fahrenheit in our house, and we have to use these infrared heaters and the other heater to even get my legs sort of warm, And my hands are here. I have to put my gloves on just before I forgot to put the gloves on. Big mistake. So my hands are like ice cold, and I'm freezing. I'm absolutely freezing, and it's ice cold. And we have 2 homes, and both of them are ice cold, because Paul doesn't want to heat them. Heat this. This house is very large, so it would cost a lot for heating. And the other house, we have only the dining room heated up with floor heating pads, and that works. So because the other house is like a third of the size of this house, and the dining room is very small, and it heats up fast. So, and we had to put canvas material over the doors, because baby doll has to go in and out all the time unimpededly. You can't constantly open and close the door, but that way it will retain the heat a little bit. So we had to really become inventive with heat retention. But this is not working out for me at all. So I didn't want to wake up and come out of my polar sleeping bag, and face the coldness. So, but then I did anyway, and I cried, because I cry almost every day because of the coldness. So ice cold, and then I have to do things. I have to take care of business, and then I can't have long sleeves, and it's difficult. It's a difficult life. I've become very inventive. I have to cut the sleeves of winter jackets even, in order for me to work in the house and still not be so exposed to the coldness. So it's very, very difficult lifestyle here, and Paul and I were very different, and it's very different to meet each other somewhere halfway and find some kind of solution, some kind of agreement. Very difficult. So, but that's why I like to retreat into dreams like those, where I just want to stay there forever. I want to go to Florida. I want to go to the Florida Keys. I want to live there. I want to be in a tropical climate zone. Or go to Bangkok or something, And I want to get away from the cold, I don't like it. So, but in retrospect, thinking about this dream, thinking about what the Amplituhedron showed itself to be in this formation, the star constellations, the infinite cosmos, like a glimpse of all these stars and the nebula, and this very interesting looking tree that was almost like square and very interestingly shaped, almost like, I thought about this, what does it represent? Maybe our lungs, maybe our brain, maybe our pulmonary blood vessel system. It definitely represents the forest, the trees, and the first impression, even in the dream I had about it, was the message: you cannot cut any further trees. It was like a mandatory. It showed this tree formation, and the formation was, do not cut any further trees to this species, the human species. That's the message. Don't cut any more trees. You cannot do it. This will have horrendous karmic consequences if the humans cut any further trees. So they wanted me to bring this message across, for sure. And the stars, like showing us that this realm here is a very dense and limited realm that we live in. That we need to come to realize that things are endless and infinitely vast. And that nothing is concrete. That everything is in a constant morphing and flowing and becoming and creating process. Okay? The creator is the infinite cosmos. The creator, what you call creator God, most call that, is the infinite cosmos, because it doesn't create something at some point and that's it. It is in a permanent creation process. And we are just play children of this creation process. We are matter that has been created and is in a constant creation process. Okay, so these two messages, main messages for the world. We need to treat the trees as we treat our own lungs, as we treat our own lungs are interdependent with the I've talked about this before in previous videos. Our lungs look like trees, and there's a synchronicity. There is a soul relationship between our lungs and the trees. Our lungs breathe that what the trees are breathing out, and vice versa. This is a symbiotic relationship that is of utmost importance to life on Earth. So I'm going to end the video with this message now. I think this is basically everything that I have been wanting to address in this video. I thought it was very, very, very significant and very urgent to bring this message across from the Amplituhedron. Take care.